Chapter 31. He could smell it. One Saturday when I was 16 years old and a sophomore in high school, one of my good friends, Janet Ritchie, was at my house. We were bored. We decided we wanted to go out and drive around in the car for a little while. About 3 months before, and for about $50, Daddy had bought an old 1951 Chevy Coupe that I promptly named Gizzy. Daddy also bought a second 1951 Chevy Coupe to use for parts when he needed one for Gizzy. Pretty smart thinking. Over the next couple of years, Gizzy needed several parts changed out. That Saturday evening, Janet and I wanted to go out and drive around Cheney Lake, which had been flooded the previous summer. We reasoned that we might find other teenagers in our hometown of Cheney out and about, and we could have some fun. On that same night, my 7-year-old sister, Marla, was hosting a sleepover with Janet's little sister, Norma. Marla and Norma were good friends and in second grade. The little girls were playing in one of our upstairs bedrooms, and Janet and I were spending time out in the garage bedroom that Daddy had remodeled to add extra sleeping places for our family of 8. I went into the dining room where Mom and Daddy and some of their friends were playing cards and asked, "Mama, can Janet and I go out for a little while?" Mama asked, "What are you girls going to do?" "Oh, nothing. Just drive around." "I don't think that's such a good idea. I can't think of a better way for 2 young girls to get themselves in trouble. So no, you cannot go." I began to whine. "Oh, Mama, we're so bored. Why can't we go?" Mama made a couple of suggestions of things we could do, like play cards or watch TV or put a jigsaw puzzle together. Or, she said, you could go upstairs and entertain Marla and Norma. Lame. Nothing she suggested held any appeal to me and Janet. We had our hearts set on driving around in the car. I kept standing beside Mama at the card table while she played. I didn't give her time to even think about the cards in her hand. Finally, Mama got frustrated and tired of my complaining, and she relented. "Victory!" We wore her down. "But," she said, "you have got to take the little girls with you." Bummer. But we could go. So we loaded up in my 1951 Chevy, and the 4 of us headed out. We drove out Lake Road and as far as we could around Cheney Lake. Most of the roads around the town of Cheney were not paved. That night, I never drove on Highway 54 or 2 Mile Corner Road. They were both asphalt. I could have. I just didn't. Instead, I stayed on the dirt country roads. On the way back to Cheney, we came upon the most awful stink. We recognized the smell. It was a skunk. We wondered what had made the skunk so mad or scared and why he felt the need to spray. I started to drive extra slow, and suddenly I saw him, squished dead along the side of the road near the ditch. Yep, that probably made him mad all right. All 4 of us held our noses, and I drove fast away from there. Once we were far enough away from the stink, Janet and I began to talk about events that were happening at school, and there was something very exciting. That year, the school had hired a young man right out of college to teach Spanish. His name was Ray Jones, and he was cute. Many of the girls in my class had big-time crushes on him, and most of us were enrolled in beginning Spanish. As much as we tried that night, we could not distract our little sisters from talking about the skunk and his smell. Finally, I had a brilliant idea. We could play a practical joke on Mr. Jones and have some giggles. But first, we had to swear Marla and Norma to secrecy. I drove back out on the road where the stinky skunk lay dead. I stopped the car and pointed the headlights right at the dead animal. The 4 of us got out of the car, holding our noses. I took the tire jack out of the trunk of my car and managed to lift the stinking dead body into my trunk. We 4 girls clambered back into the car as quickly as we could, holding our noses and gagging at the smell. It didn't keep us from giggling. I drove as fast as I could back to Cheney, and I stopped in front of Mr. Jones's house. I opened the trunk, and Janet and I got out. Using the jack, we got the skunk out, ran to the middle of Mr. Jones's yard, and dropped it. We tried to be quiet, but it was hard not to giggle. I drove as fast as I could away from his house. We could still smell the skunk, but I was sure the smell would go away soon. The rest of the night was uneventful, except for the fact that Mama kept asking, "What has got you girls so giggly?" With daggers in my eyes, I looked at Marla, threatening her visually to keep quiet. But then I smiled when she told Mama, "We had such a good time with Donnis and Janet, Mama. Thank you for letting us go." On Monday, at a school assembly, the principal of the high school, Mr. Harding, said that if anyone knew who the culprit was who dumped a dead skunk in Mr. Jones's yard, that person needed to come forward. Gulp. Janet and I could not look at each other for fear we would burst out laughing, so we just sat there and said nothing. Mr. Harding waited, giving the guilty party ample time to fess up. It was the most uncomfortable 2 minutes of my young life. My whole body flushed to a bright red. I just knew someone was going to read my expression. I could tell that Janet was holding her breath. Phew. Mr. Harding finally went on with his program. Nothing was discovered about the skunk dump. We were free. Well, almost. Daddy worked 3rd shift at Boeing, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. He slept in the daytime while we were at school, but got up in the afternoon so he could spend the evenings with us. At 5:30 on Monday evening, when I got home from my babysitting job, he was sitting at the dining room table. "Come here, Donnis. Sit down," he said. "Uh-oh." "Hi, Daddy," I chirped. "Now tell me exactly what you were doing in the car on Saturday night," he said. I knew I was busted. Nothing." "Don't you dare lie to me, Donnis Erlene." So I came clean. I told him everything, the whole stinky tale. Mama always said that the tail of the bird got home before the bird. In this case, she was right. The story of a smelly dead skunk in Mr. Jones's yard was all over town. Daddy already knew I was guilty. He could smell it. I've been telling stories since the age of 3, and I'm happy to have published the books of my father, Max, brother Tommy, and sister Lonetta Slusser Knutson. All of our books are published through Amazon and Kindle. www.amazon.com/author/Donnis Crane.